Alright, hello everybody, this is XP Scaling, and today we will be covering Hanayama, the strongest creature alive. This will be part 1 in his series. So, disclaimer guys, this is gonna be, a pretty long, lengthy video, but this will be covering, some of his very early on feats, and I will be trying to go extensively into how strong he is. So, real quick, to give you guys, an example or an explanation as to how strong he is, we will be covering the time he spent as a war vet and what he's done to mock and bully Baki to get stronger. And, to cover this, I will be covering the time he spent at Vietnam at the age of 16. And to give you guys, a quick hint, at the age of 16, he is the reason why the USA lost in Vietnam. Please know, he was 16 and he defeated the USA at Vietnam in about 300 days. It took him 300 days for us to realize we couldn't win against this guy. So we first bought Yujiro after taking cover from a bombardment, right? Field bombardment. Gets out of his bunker and he proceeds to maul people. And please note, some of the scans here, they're, a little gruesome. You've been warned. He's shown, even at the age of 16, he can ragdoll and massacre fully grown men, heck, groups of, small groups of soldiers. And even at this age, he's shown to be at least faster than what the eye could track, right? This is Hanma Yujiro 300 days inside the war. And again, faster than what the eye can track, based on what I put there. Has this guy that he's using as a meat shield, whom he's casually ragdolling, proceeds to, vanish by the time he drops him. And proceeds to rip apart everybody there. You have people getting their necks snapped, necks twisted, having complete internal organ damage just because of how hard he punched someone in the gut. Again, disclaimer, because of how brutal the violence is. With a karate chop, legit caved in this man's head to the point where his brains are coming out. Kicked this man's jaw off, hit this man so hard his eyes came out. Legit ripped off this man's jaw, cut off this man's ears and nose. And he even gets snuck up on by this one guy, right? Proceeds to blitz him and smacks the guy so hard his face legit comes off, right? And sometime later he meets Jane, whom he declares his wife later on. He puts his fingers in her mouth, and with his fingers alone, he even states, "How about I tear the flesh off of your skull, just like this," right? She bites down, and with her fingers, she proceeds to get her jaw. With his fingers, he completely overpowers her jaw, proving with just 2 fingers, he actually could have done what he said. Please note, the average, bite force of a human canine is at least about 126 pounds per square inch. And he's shown with just 2 fingers, he could have just ripped her jaw off. Like, mad savage. He also then, slaps her away, easily ragdolling her, at least 15 feet away from him. And he proceeds to then blitz her as she tries to get up and shoot him, but he broke the gun barrel easily. After this, he did realize that, she was wife material, and later, snuck into a U.S. headquarters in the Vietnam, right? Real quick, though, in terms of, his war tactics, war battlefield awareness, all that, he's not like, typical soldiers, as you can tell. In terms of how he fights in the war, he doesn't use morals. So usually when you have people who go to war, Surprisingly, we will agree or will come to terms to not use biological warfare, where like in real life, we don't want to go to war because it might just be a nuclear war. Yujiro, he doesn't use morals, and because of that, he does have an edge in terms of how creative he is and what he's willing to do. As when he infiltrates this base, you see this man on the table, he gets up, he says, "Wow, you guys are idiots." Gets up, tears off his face. Turns out it was Yujiro. And again, as I just, explained, he's willing to do whatever it takes in war and even in a fight to, get an advantage or even win. And while he's in there, he proceeds to maul everyone within, arm's reach of him. Again, showing that he's above groups of human beings. And he's even shown at this point to be at least wall level, easily. This should be honestly impressive, considering, Hanayama, when he had his fight with Baki, created huge craters in a wall, meaning that he should at least be wall level too. So at this point in time, he scales to characters much later on in the Baki series who are blatantly wall level, right? And he uses this tactic of breaking through walls while in the U.S. headquarters to outmaneuver people. He broke through one wall, came down the ceiling. Got the jump on these guys, proceeded to maul them. Yeah, just it's not going good for these guys. And again, ran through a wall, right? Then appeared on the other side to get to, flank these guys. Again, he's just brutalizing everybody there. They try to, again, shoot him down. He proceeds to outmaneuver them. And then instead of flanking them or going in for an attack, he proceeds to tackle them. This is a group of at least, based off this scan right here, at least 10, maybe 12 people. And he overpowers 10 guys. And during this tackle, he obviously, if you fall, you're going to get stomped on or, killed. And at this point, after clearing out the entire headquarters of the U.S. base in Vietnam, he does take a quick breather. Turns out, baby girl Jane comes back, and she has the place rigged to blow. She gets, some extreme explosives, 300 grams of Tyree. If you look it up, it was actually a very dangerous explosive. It wasn't commissioned anymore after the Vietnam War, but very dangerous. As you can see here, they left it right in the middle of the headquarters for when the place blew up. Caused an extremely big explosion, right? These are the tanks right here being dwarfed, if you guys can see them in the bottom, by the size of the explosion. Now, please note, Yujiro at this point should not be, building level if you can get him up there based off of this feat, but he does withstand the blast force of this. And, considering that considering the fact that Jane used, that barrel of a very explosive substance to get the kind of size explosion we did get, I'm not gonna say he's in the building level based off this feat, but if you really want to highball him at this age, at the age of 16, you could say that. Though I am gonna say at this point in time, it's more than likely if you shot him with a bullet, he would, take damage. I'm gonna say it right now, if you shot him in the back of the head, he'd probably die. And again, he's, like I said earlier, he's willing to do whatever it takes in war. Uses Jane after doing something that rhymes with grape with her as a human body shield. Proceeds to throw her in a group of people and mauls them. And this right here is where we get an extremely impressive feat. As you see this guy right here, he's on a mounted gun. And the mounted gun in question, more than likely based off the image that we're going to see soon of the gun, is a M45 quad mount, which in terms of firing pace, he's capable of shooting around at least 890 meters per second, or that would be at least around 1,990.87 miles per hour, or Mach 2.6. So that would be at bullet level. Though, as impressive as that would be, you could say Yujiro did aim dodge it, but if you want to highball his speed at the age of 16, or at least, his time in the war, you could say he's, bullet level. As based off of here, he does run towards the turret and does outpace it, and, proceeds to maul everybody there. And a member of the UN, more than likely someone who was sent there to negotiate, states, by the time you're an adult, 10 years from now, you're gonna rival any national army just by showing up, right? He says, wow, there exists a boy who will in 10 years have the combat ability rivaling that of a national army, who is dedicated to not using weapons, with that faith completely unshaken even in a limited war. You have my respect as someone who has no choice but to rely on weapons, right? Yeah, he proceeds to kick this guy's balls into oblivion, killing him. And please note, at the age of 16, he should be within the wall level. If you really want to get him up there, like building level. And easily faster than the eye could track. Being faster than the eye could track would mean at least moving at 383 miles per hour. Or if you really want to get him up there, you could say he's in the bullet level, right? Please note, when he fights his son Baki, he's at least in his, late 20s, early 30s. And as we see, as an adult, Yujiro, while he was in the mountains training with, Ando, he managed to kill a yasha ape. And as you could see here, there was one more animal, but it ran away. I gotta say, I did enjoy myself. It was truly a good time. He truly was a beast of the wild. Now, this should be impressive considering the fact that when Baki fought this thing, he got mauled by it. And Yujiro here only has like a small head wound, as you can see, the drop of blood there. And he even killed the one that Baki fought later on, right? And kept its head to mock him, right? Brought it, had its tongue sticking out, made it talk. He said, "Baki-kun, long time no see," to mock him and encourage him, bro, you need to get stronger. Now, this should, again, be impressive, as it took Baki essentially going through 3 months of hard training, fighting the thing, getting an endorphin boost, and then adapting to him, too, in order to beat that thing. And then Yujiro, easily shown to just brutalize these things. Yasha apes having the theoretical strength of a gorilla. Again, that would be at least around 4,000 pounds of lifting strength, or in terms of striking strength, that would be at least about 6,500 pounds of force being exerted in a punch, per se. Later on, afterwards, he interrupted the fight between Baki and Hanayama, and with just a glance, he was able to analyze both opponents and the amount of injuries that they had. He proceeds to, make a perfect entrance, because, he's a master of making entrances. This is also going to be the picture I use for the thumbnail, guys. Teehee. As you could see here, and he does this on a physician level, right? He says, wow, the left hand, both third and fourth, I'm not going to say, look, guys, these are some big words. I have an American accent. I can't say them. But he's able to tell the complete damage he has, right? He knows the damage in both hands and even the amount of damage he has on his jaw. Looks over to Baki, right? He's able to tell that there's even internal damage inside the calf wound and other small lacerations. And then he proceeds to, cuck Hanayama. Cucked them so hard, right? Hanayama goes in, breaks his legs, proceeds to pick him up by the hair, and then just ragdolls him, right? Hanayama at this point weighs at least around 160 kilos, or at least 300, over 300 pounds. Baki then tries to jump in, gets slapped away with no diff, completely like rendered useless. And now, again, they should be impressive considering the fact that, in their fight, Baki and Hanayama tore up a nightclub, and Hanayama, with just one punch, was stated by Baki to be as strong, if not stronger, than the Yasha ape. Yasha ape having the, theoretical strength of a gorilla, yet here comes Yujiro just no diffing both of them. And again, breaks Hanayama's arms, and Hanayama at this point, he's petrified and traumatized. He says, wow, from the day I was born till this very day, there hasn't been anyone who I couldn't take down with my strength. But this opponent is different, way too different. Even if I were to wear full body armor against this man, there's just no way you could win. He's freaking out because this is the first time Hanayama's ever been through this kind of situation, being completely helpless. And if you've seen my Hanayama video, you'd understand why. If you guys want to see that video, please. Later on, after defeating Baki and Hanayama, he decided, you know what? My son defeated Gaia, so let's go flex. Let's go flex on the Prime Minister of Japan. So he calls him up. He says, yo, is this the Prime Minister's office? You guys have 1 hour before I come in and I kill him. And they have at least about 1 hour prep time before Yujiro comes in. Now, this, SWAT team unit, tries to grab Yujiro and falls face first. Now, real quick, what Yujiro did display here was he was able to understand the guy's strength, or in this case, the flow of strength, the same technique that Baki used in his fight with Hanayama, as it's honestly Yujiro here who elaborates and explains it, right? When he's asked, what exactly would you consider a genius? And he says, those who can see the flow of strength. And he gives an example. He has this guy grab his pinky with all his might, and with just his finger, right, completely overpowers and just, throws him around. And he says, wow, how was he able to flip me like that with just my finger? But is he saying that he could channel the flow and power and energy in a fight, even though it could all be random? With that, just he was able to divert the energy and power I put in. That is someone that you would call chosen by God. And again, if we go off that statement, not only would he be able to understand the flow of strength in a fight, even if the fight's completely random, he can control it. While it took Baki a whole fight of adapting to just learn how to understand it. Proceeds to get jumped by these guys, and again, if you guys seen the war, proceeds to massacre and no diff these guys, killing at least a couple of them, right? They proceed to, retreat. We can't take them, right? And he takes a smoke break, finishes his smoke break, says, wow, you guys are boring. All right. This is perfect, guys. He proceeds to hug, right? Tackle these guys so hard, about 100 of them. And he's shown to easily overpower about 100 men. In comparison to what he did when he was, 16, he overpowered at least about 10 to 12 people. Here he goes, easily overpowering 100 men. And this guy, who's more than likely the captain or the, squad leader, he says he's pushing back 100 people. But how, right? Afterwards, makes it into the Prime Minister's office. And he didn't kill the Prime Minister. He just wanted to let him know that anytime he wanted to, he could kill him, though, right? He completely kicks his desk in half, right? And he says, yeah, you're not going to rest easy with such a dumb security, right? And, just leaves the guy traumatized. And then, after doing, some tomfoolery again, after that level of tomfoolery that he did, later on he goes, hangs out with one of the boys, right? The guy's bragging about his custom made bow, and he says, "Yo, I want you to use it on me, my guy." And now, please note, this elk here, even though it shows to have, a headshot, this headshot right here traveled completely through the elk, as in from the head to the rear of the elk, clean through it. And this guy, when he made it, this bow, it's a custom made bow. And to draw back the bow string on said bow, you'd have to at least exert around 200 kilograms of force, right? Or at least about 440 pounds. For reference, based off of the DDH website, or the deer and deer hunting website, it takes at least 40 pounds of draw weight to kill a white-tailed deer. 50 pounds or higher is used to kill elk, moose, or bear. So that would mean at least about a 10 or 20 pound difference means you could kill elk, moose, or bear. This bowstring requires you to pull, honestly, almost 450 pounds. So you can imagine the kind of damage it would do. And Yujiro, after being elaborated on what it did, he says, "Wow, I drew up the blueprints and had a friend make it for me. He works in this metal company that optimized it, that customized it and built it to perfection. The springs are reinforced with steel plates for maximum power and resistance. The bowstring is crafted and designed just like a piano string. To draw the string back requires 200 kilograms of force. Unfortunately, only I can do it. Its arrows are custom made from titanium alloy." And right after hearing this, Yujiro says, "Bro, you should use it on me." Now, considering that this is a custom made bow, and it's based off the design right here, it's designed after a longbow. So I was able to go on a website, a website called Omni. It's a arrow speed calculator website. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. But if we go off the website and go off the calculations that I was able to find and put in for this bow, based on its draw weight, the draw weight for the string, that would mean that the arrow shot at Yujiro was moving at least 476 miles per hour. So even if you lowball Yujiro at this point, even though he caught this arrow quite effortlessly, you could still say he's very much faster than what the eye could track at this point. And he proceeds to catch it before the arrow even comes out, and he even says, "Wow, this is what you'd call pathetically slow, my guy." So if you really want to even grossly lowball him even further, you could say, he's at least within, transonic, or at least 377 miles per hour. Now, as if we go for the bow calculation, based off the calculator, right, the bow rating, or IBO, and again, please note, guys, seeing as this is a custom made bow, and it's more than likely, based off the rating, we don't really get a rating or any of the stats, but based off the bow and how it was made, it's more than likely the best bow in the world. So based off of that, I used the best rating for the IBO rating, which would be 345. Based on the fact that it's a long bow, the string should be at least about 66 inches. The peak draw weight is at least 440 pounds. The arrow, even though it's stated to be a custom-made arrow, we don't get a specific weight, so I used a standard arrow's weight, which would be 25.92 grams. The additional weight of the string, or at least seeing as we don't even get the weight of the string, and I can't calculate the weight of the string if there's no statement saying that. So you say a standard string's weight, which would be 1.296 grams. The arrow speed, as you can see here, which would be 476.1 miles. The momentum and the kinetic energy output. So essentially, this is what it would all look like in the calculator. And again, I am going to be leaving a link in the description. So sometime later, after, catching this arrow and it being almost time for him to have his fight with Baki, he gets snuck up on by Gaia, right? And afterward, this is the result. He cucked this man so hard that he's bowing to him like if he's God, right? Please note, it took Baki adapting, getting an endorphin boost, and overcoming his body's natural instincts. And yet, Yujiro here defeated him effortlessly, no injury, no nothing. So finally, after being able to fight his son Baki, the fight starts out with a big flex by Yujiro as a small earthquake happens. So right as you could see, this earthquake happens here, right? As you can see, this is the city, or at least the military outpost. The whole, this whole area of Japan is shaking. Yujiro smiles, right? Everybody's just like, oh wow, this is quite a big one. As you could even see here in the background, the military post is shaking. Yet, here's Yujiro, cocks back his fist, punches the ground, and the earthquake stops, right? Everybody's freaking out. And, he stated at this point, due to his confidence, he could steal all political power in the world. And honestly, even the anger of the earth was more than likely helpless before him at this point. And it stated, wow, was that the power that defeated Gaia, god of the earth? With tenacious self-confidence, if he wanted political power, he could dominate the world. Is even the earth's anger powerless before the ogre's confidence as the world's strongest? How about you, Baki? Do you believe you could hold your ground against them? Now, obviously based off this feat, we don't really get, a magnitude in the manga, so I had to look towards the anime. And again, in the anime, we don't really get a magnitude, so I am going to leave a link in the description as to the scene in the anime, but based off of, what we could eyeball, I'm going to say, I didn't want to eyeball it, but I kind of had to for this feat. We could at least say that it's a magnitude of 4.5 or 5.5. Right? A magnitude between 4.5 or 5.5. And I'm going to say that mainly because it takes a magnitude of 6.5 or higher, like a 7, to destroy buildings. And we don't see any buildings being destroyed. So I am going to also leave a link for what a real world earthquake would look like, at least, inside of a house. And I'm going to also leave what real world earthquake damages look like and records for that in this video. So based off of volcanodiscovery.com, the force output of a magnitude 4 alone, if we say it is a magnitude 4, would at least be 15 tons of force. So that would be close to the city block ranges. But if we say it he managed to hit it with a 5, that this is a magnitude 5 output, right? That would be in the 500-ton ranges of force, or the multi-city block ranges, right? But let's highball this feat, right? Let's really bring it up there. Let's say it was a magnitude of 5.5. Now, based off of actual Richter scale measurements, if you go from a 1 to a 2 in the Richter scale, that's at least a 10 times increase. And even up here, you could see it right here. As you have about 15 tons, all of a sudden now it's 500. That, again, is like a 10 times increase. And also, real quick, here's a statement stating that, it's a 10-fold increase. Again, I am also going to leave this link in the description if you guys want to see it for yourself. But essentially, that would mean that Yujiro was able to output about 2.5 kilotons of force, or that would be at least 1/16 the power of the Hiroshima bomb. As if we get to around a zero point 0.6 magnitude, that would be at least around the bomb, dropped around the Hiroshima, right? The Hiroshima bomb equivalent. And we get this kind of calculation of a magnitude of 2.5 kilotons if we say, based off of it being a 10 times increase. If we say that it's a 5.5, it's more than likely a 5 times increase. So we take 500 tons of force, multiply that by 5, we get 2,500 tons of force. It takes about 1,000 tons to equal 1 kiloton, so that would be at least about 2.5 kilotons of force being outputted, right? And this is right here more than likely his around more than likely his maximum outpoint in the series, or at least this early in the series. So afterwards, fighting his son Baki, he then proceeds to just neg all damage given to him by Baki. Just proceeds to get, obviously, kneed in the face multiple times. Proceeds to neg it, right? Gets rear choked by this guy and spins him so hard he gets, flung off, thrown mad high in the air. And at this point, Baki, he proceeds to give himself a 4 times multiplier in terms of his physicality with an endorphin boost, to be able to fight back properly, right? As Guy states here, he learned how to control and pump up his own endorphins. Hanayama stating, wow, no, he's at least 4 times stronger than me. So even if we lowball Baki at this point, right, and say his base is equal to Hanayama, that would mean he's at least 4 times stronger than Hanayama. And yet here's Yujiro still negging all of his attacks. And when he does counterattack, right, he says, I'm going to devour you, blitzes him so fast, he wasn't able to react. So a Baki who was at least 4 times what he was before he got his endorphin boost. I mean, who's 4 times what he is now after getting his endorphin boost, gets completely blitzed by his father Yujiro. This should be, very impressive considering in his fight with, Gaia, you could argue he's technically within the bullet level ranges, as Gaia, when he was tied up back in war, I believe. I don't think it was the Vietnam War, but it was in one of the African wars he was in. He got tied up, blindfolded, and shot, and he dodged the bullets. So that would make him at least bullet level. And yet here's Yujiro casually blitzing, Baki with an attack. And he hits Baki so hard that Baki actually thought he was back in the womb. He says, wow, where am I? It feels so nice. I've been here before. What? Wow. And Yujiro says, wow, in that 0.2 seconds that you were unconscious, I could have killed you twice. And this is the first time in the fight where he does, proceeds to take a fighting stance. And after Baki had developed, he spent time developing a specific countermeasure or counterattack to fight his father. Yujiro instantly read it, called it pathetic, right? He recognized it, and then proceeded to use Baki's counterattack against him, right? He used his own technique against him. As you can see here, Baki's like, here, give me your best shot. Yujiro's just pathetic, right? He instantly recognized it. Saw it, hits Baki. Baki goes in for the counter. Yujiro sees it, lets it touch him, and then counters him. As you can see here, this is what it would look like visually. You have Baki going in, Yujiro sees it, goes in, dodges, boom. Hits him with his own technique. And at this point, Yujiro really was going to kill him, and actually does, right? Goes in, starts essentially killing him. Luckily, his mother came in and sacrificed herself. And Yujiro, kind of being disappointed at this point, having a boy fit, decided, wow, I'm going to maul everybody who was here. And please know, everybody who's there are essentially all the opponents that Baki's ever fought. So that would be the bullies in his school, that would be Yuri the boxer, that would be Hanayama, that would be many of the martial artists that he's fought in while preparing his own technique against Yujiro. This would even include the guy right here who's getting knocked away, the sword wielder, no, katana user, who Baki first developed his technique. And he proceeds to, pull up, mauls all of them, and yeah, brutalizes them. So, a quick recap, right, to his strength and speed. If you guys want, you could say for his speed, if you lowball it, you could say he could react up to speeds of about 476.1 miles, or low supersonic ranges. And as for his strength or attack potency, you could say he's shown to easily be above building levels. And now these are the bare minimums. As if we now as oh my goodness, now if we get into actually how fast he should be, you could honestly put him in the bullet ranges. Honestly, comparing him to what he was, when he was 16, potentially being able to dodge anti-aircraft fire, moving at least around, Mach 2.6. You could technically put him higher, seeing as he blitzed Baki, putting him well above bullet level, and putting him into the, I'm gonna say, generously low hypersonic. And as for his strength, you could put him potentially being relative to the Hiroshima bomb or in the kiloton ranges of attack potency. So he's easily in the multi-city block level. And, multi-city block to potentially even small town ranges of strength, right? Now, as for his durability, a general standard rule is your AP does, scale to your durability. And seeing as he's honestly shown to be blatantly above Baki, it's more than likely it does. Heck, you could even argue it should be technically higher than it, but for now, seeing as we don't really see him tank many things, meaning that not that he could tank them, but mainly he doesn't have to because he's just blatantly above these guys, we'll just say that his AP should scale to his durability. Now, real quick, we're going to cover some of his skill and intelligence, but we're going to start off with his confidence, right? As he stated, in terms of ego, this guy's ego alone is in a league of its own. This man will devour anything that gets in his path. He is so self-centered, there is no man or beast that can match him. All the so-called greatest or even all the so-called greatest of every martial arts that have ever been put in front of him have been devoured. It's something that has only been found in several other people. Throughout history, there were several people with similar traits who had that huge impact in the world. This guy is the strongest and he is the most selfish. He would be a perfect leader of man if he wasn't so damn selfish. After many of these dangerous war zones, because I'm not gonna waste your guys' time trying to pronounce them, it was the best place to feed his ego. And Yujiro loved every second. He fought every chance he got and fed his ego to the max. Oh, sorry guys, put that there twice. So essentially, right, in terms of skill, everybody who's ever been pulled up against them, every of the greatest martial artists, he's legit, as you've seen here, he's shown to just brutalize and, in his own words, devour them. So in terms of skill, you could easily say it's more than likely he's fought most mainstream fighters. He's been in multiple war zones, based off of this statement here, right? The most dangerous war zones, note. And in terms of world governments, they essentially see him as a demigod in comparison to regular people, even armies. And like I said earlier, he'll just devour anyone who's in his way, and if you're the best of the best, he will usually devour you. If you're the best of the best in war tactics, he's shown to honestly slaughter all of them without, much thought. Now, Yujiro, despite him being the strongest man on the earth, he's no fool. I mean, while he was training Baki at a young age, he taught him the idea of having to use your own endorphins or how to release them. Alright? He taught him that concept, which he would later use in his fight against Yujiro. He also taught him the concept of, the concentration of death. And he's also shown, as I stated earlier, to completely just look at you and he'll understand the amount of damage that you have in your body. Look, that Baki did this with him too. And again, he's the one who elaborated and explained how to use the flow of strength in a fight and how to manipulate it, as he did here with this gun. And even with his fight with Baki, he's shown to completely look at him, recognize his technique, and master it, then proceeds to use it against him. So, in terms of intelligence, you could easily say he's above a genius level intellect in a fight. So, genius level intellect in terms of fighting, genius level fighter. He's very much gifted in terms of influence. He's stated to be much like the icons like Buddha, Christ, Hitler, those kinds of people. In terms of leadership, he has the potential of essentially running the world, right? He could have done all that, but due to his ego, he just wants to fight. So you have a man who's in the hypersonic ranges of speed, in the around kiloton output tons of force, so around the Hiroshima bomb, right? And as for his durability, equal to that. But you know what, guys? That's not all, folks. Let's give him an extreme highball, guys. This is going to be the last one, as later on in the series, much like in the Maximum Tournament, they're actually shown to be more consistently in the building multi-city block ranges. Like, that's around the power that they start entering. So this is going to be the last extreme highball. If you guys want to just wank him, right? Just wank his strength. So real quick, if we go off this, right? If we go off the kinds of attack potency that I've given you guys back in the other days, right? Baki, who was stated to be 4 times stronger than Hanayama himself, right? Hanayama, if you guys remember my Hanayama video, was able to put out a output of force of at least around 69,953 pounds of force, or at least 30,976 tons of force. If we say that Baki is at least 4 times that, that would mean that Baki was able to output at least 123,904 tons of force. Yujiro completely negged said force, these strikes, and the crazy part is, if you get Baki into those levels of strength, you could say he's within, the mountain ranges of attack potency. Yet what's crazier is that his father Yujiro, he's taking these punches no diff, so you could honestly put him well above, mountain level. You could really bring him up to about, island level. Let's be a little crazy. Let's say, small country level. Boom. And he's easily shown to at least be within, the hypersonic level. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the last of my extreme highballs. I understand the video's a little lengthy. I'm sorry about that, guys. I will be soon covering the Maximum Tournament arcs and very important fighters that are in that arc, and very important fights. I will try to make the video short. Again, guys, if you guys don't know by now, this isn't really consistent, my videos. So until we meet again, please dislike, unsubscribe, leave a hate comment. And this has been your boy XP Scaling. Love you guys. Peace.